to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So on today's video I will be reviewing one watch and unboxing one. Both are from Sugess, both are brand new releases and both are fantastic watches. I'm very excited to be unboxing and reviewing these watches for you guys. Let me open up the boxes and show you what we've got. So the first one that I will be taking out the box, and this will be the full review. This is actually the newly released V3 DT Homage. I'm not going to say the full name because, as you know, it's a bit volatile out here on the AliExpress YouTube watch channel, so you've got to be careful with what you say. So let's unwrap this and let's give you a quick look at what we have. This is, as I said, the DT Homage, the brand new version 3. It does have a few different changes, and I will be comparing it with my version 1 that I have. And I think the main thing is the diameter and some of the text. I think the main kind of observations I made in my review, and they seem to have kind of fixed those. And the watch looks awesome in hand, guys, I gotta tell you. And this is the most expensive one out of, kind of today's video. But I'll go into that in a bit more detail once I unbox the watch to my left. So let's put this one away and we will come back to this. So this one is another new release, and I think this is gonna be a great watch. It's gonna be quite popular, and this is of course the Pilot Aviator Homage off the Blank Pawn Air Command. And in fact, in the AliExpress sale, in the new releases, I did point towards this watch, and yeah, they sent it in to me for me to review it for you guys, and I gotta say, this watch looks absolutely stunning. I think there'll be a lot of people that will find this watch incredible to look at, and in hand already, some of the build quality that I can see in front of me, some of the features I can see on the case, it does look really good, and I love the aesthetics, the visuals that you see as soon as you get it out the box. So I think in terms of specifications, what do we have? We've got a box style sapphire crystal, a very low dome sapphire crystal, which gives it a much more premium look. You've got a ceramic bezel insert. You also got a stainless steel case construction, a screw down case back. Of course, you cannot have a screw down crown because this uses the Seagull ST1901 mechanical chronograph movement, and Sugess are the kings of this movement, right? They've done, I think, so many watches of this movement, they really know what they're doing. So let me just wind this up a bit, and I think you'll find a much more kind of simplified dial in terms of the sub dials used. You've only got one on the right and one on the left, giving you a 30-minute timer and a 60-second running hand to your left, as well as a chronograph in the center. So let's give this a quick test. Wow, that was a nice click. Brushed pushers, a new S. It looks a bit better. It's a bit engraved, but still a simple kind of S. I would have preferred a kind of scripted squiggle, but yeah, so that looks great, man. Just look at some of the features here. That beveled polished edge, very fine brushing, and I want you to check that bezel out. So this bezel is a bi-directional bezel. Check that out, and it's a 24-click bezel, so like a GMT. This is very nice. Yeah, it feels really good. You got a very smooth glide, and then a stop, and then another smooth one. So that's a very nice premium quality bezel feel. You've also got a few different colors. You've got a blue sunburst dial option. You've got a green sunburst with a stainless steel case. You've also got a bronze case with that blue sunburst version, of course, in line with the watch it's homaging. So let me give you guys a quick overview of the dimensions while we are here. This is a large watch. It's 42 millimeters in diameter. You do have a 13.7 mil thick case, and the lug to lug is going to be quite long. This is 51.4 millimeters. And now, from what I can remember, it is quite close to the original watch that they're homaging. But bearing in mind, BP did come out with a 38 millimeter much after, which was, I think, a bit more sought after, a bit more liked. So I would like to see Sugess do the same thing. Not knocking this size, there's a lot of people out there that still prefer the bigger watches, but it's got typical Pilot style dimensions. Anything with a 42 mil diameter tends to have a 50-51 mil lug to lug, which is quite long. But Pilot watches are meant to be kind of big because they need to be visual. I like it. It's so good in hand. It's a lot different to a lot of the other watches. It feels quite substantial. I think the weight is around 90 grams. You've got a supple leather strap. It feels good quality as well. You got the open case back, which you can see the ST1901. It's also got the swan neck regulator present on there. Very promising. So, make sure you stay tuned for the full review on this watch. So let's put this one away and go back to the DT Homage that we want to review today. So here we have the Sugess DT Homage. This is I think the newest addition to this color variant, and they've got the classics as well, you know, the white dial and the black dial, as well as the chrome bezel or the steel bezel insert as well. But I wanted to go for this, you know, a bit of a typical sort of setup that we're used to seeing from the watch they are originally homaging. And they've got this sunburst ice blue dial. The dial itself looks gorgeous, great sunburst, very nice shade, and of course you've got that pairing with that brown. Now for me this is an odd color combination, but you know, I gotta say it has kind of grown on me since I first saw it. And you've got the same kind of build quality that I saw in the previous one that I've reviewed. You've got the bullet style hour markers, fully polished. You've got the minute track printed around the outside, printing just below the 12, and of course printing on the inside of those subdials. The subdials themselves are very nicely finished. You've got the same sort of brown around the outside. Then you've got these silver lined frames on each of the subdials. White printed numerals. The handset is a standard handset, chamfered on either end. You've got the black line going to the center, giving you the effect of a split hand, and you've got the arrow tipped chronograph hand. So you know, the build quality in the previous one was incredible, and it seems the same on this one as well. Going on to that ceramic bezel, again that nice, I think, chocolatey brown. White numerals nicely etched into that bezel. Everything looks really well made, very well built, and the beauty of this watch, it does come with a clone 7750 movement, and the one I've got in hand, I've had zero issues with it. I've had it for, you know, ever since I've done the review. I've also actually passed it on to Jason, the watch guy. He instantly fell in love with it as well. And yeah, it's a solid watch, you know. I do enjoy wearing this time to time, and you know, this will not be a full review, more so a bit of a comparison between the version 1 and the version 3. I'll also link the version 1 review video if you want to see that, because in terms of the finishing, the polishing, and the case finish, it's all exactly the same, and that is what I want to focus on, is where the difference lies. So the first difference you want to look at is where it states Sugess automatic chronograph. On the first one it said Sugess automatic top chronometer. I think this is where the problem was, you know, claiming it's a chronometer and then just having top on there, it kind of did cheapen it. But now this is a bit better, Sugess automatic, just plain chronograph. I would have liked the text to be a bit thicker though, a bit bold. It's a bit thin and faint, doesn't really come up as being quite visible. It just looks like a few squiggles, you know, on the dial. You know, when you do put text on a dial, you do want to actually be able to see it, and I think that would have been probably a bit better. But I think it's a step in the right direction. They have took off that top chronometer. And the second thing about this watch was the dimensions. So let me compare the dimensions for you guys. So the first one, I think the biggest problem was the thickness, and the first one came in at, what was it, 13.8 millimeters with a log to log of 46.8, with a diameter of around 39 millimeters. So let's see how this one compares. And one of the differences I can see straight away is the kind of height of that crystal is much lower on this one, and I think the case back looks a bit slimmer as well. So let's see what we have. I don't expect the diameter to change, still 39 and 38 at the bezel. Log to log is 46.7, still the same, and this is where we are, so 12.5 mil thick. So I think they've done good by shaving off 1.5 mil. That's going to really help the watch how it wears. It's a bit closer to the watch it's homaging also. And let's have a look at some of the features. The crown on, you know, these Sugess and C-Stand watches, they're very smooth. I mean, the screw down on it is so buttery smooth, you don't really feel the threads even engage. In terms of the pushers, again, very smooth on the screw down. Let's press it down. Very positive hard click. You have to press it quite a bit, and then you've got your running chronograph hand. It's a high beat movement as well, so you'll see a beat rate of 28,800 vibrations per hour, giving you a very smooth sweep on the chronograph seconds hand, and also that running seconds hand on the sub dial. Just very, very smooth. So press that and let's reset that. No issues there. So let's put this watch on the Timegrapher and let's see how this is running, and we might compare it to my older one as well. So on the Timegrapher, I had to go into Google first and foremost to find out the lift angle, because this is cloning the Value 7750, so I'm assuming that the lift angle should also be the same, which is 49 degrees. So the current one I have, the black one, it's running really well. You got 0 beta error, a 254 degree amplitude, and 0 seconds plus or minus. So that's running perfect, and this has been a while since I've had this watch, so I wonder if there's a mistake. Let's just turn it to the side to see if that does fluctuate. So crown up position, Does it move at all? Yes, it's moved slightly, so that might not be inaccurate. That might actually be correct. If that's the case, that movement is incredible, as I've had it for a fair few months, well, maybe a year or so. Yeah, so plus 9 seconds of the current position, so it does fluctuate. So I'm hoping that is an accurate reading, because the clone movements is very hard to get all the stats correct. So if that is the case, 0-0, I'm well impressed with the one I currently have. So in comparison, the V2 that I've just put on the Timegrapher, it's got a beat rate of 0.1, a slightly higher amplitude because I have just only wound that, and a accuracy of -2 seconds. That is very close to the one I have. Of course, I mean, these movements do need a bit of running in and they kind of perform a bit better. But from what I can see, in this snapshot, in this very short snapshot, the movement looks solid. Now, I don't know longevity-wise, reliability-wise, how long these movements last. I can't comment on that. But from what I can see, it is quite stable and accurate, at the factory. And this is why I think they've sold quite a lot of these. The movements are fantastic, and my one has been very accurate every time I've worn it. So here's the V3 Sugess Tona on my 6.5-inch wrist. Now, is there really a significant difference from when you wear it to the version 1? In all honesty, I don't feel that much of a difference, but it does seem to sit just a little kind of slimmer, just a little, because I think the main area where it lost a bit of height was the sapphire crystal, and therefore it doesn't really make that much difference on wrist. It just seems to just sit a bit flatter, and I think it might just be a placebo because I know it's a bit thinner. But other than that, it is quite a comfortable watch to wear. The bracelet is really well made, and on the note of the bracelet, I have a few other observations, and I think probably a couple of negatives. So one of the negatives being just the pure size of the bracelet. This bracelet is not big enough for a lot of people. I think this may max out at 7.5 inches or maybe just under that. And I don't know if Sugess can provide extra links at request, but it is quite a short bracelet. The second thing is it does not have an on-the-fly adjustment. Now, while I know why, and a lot of these watches do not have on-the-fly adjustments, it does have a bit of extension, but it's quite awkward to get into to give it some micro adjustments. I mean, you've got 3 micro adjustments, but it's not something which I've been able to do. It's just very fidgety. Now, they do have a sub Homage, which has a really good bracelet, very similar to this in fact, which does actually have an on-the-fly adjustment which works really well. So don't know why they could not just use that bracelet and give us that little luxury, let's say, because it does make it a lot easier. So it's not the largest of bracelets, and I think if you've got larger wrists, it's something that you're going to struggle with. One of the other negatives about this, or a byproduct of the movement, should I say, is the noisy rotor, where it does give you a bit of a wobble or vibration. So let's see if you can hear it. Yeah, and that spinning does make the watch kind of rattle a little bit, but that is a byproduct of the Value 7750. So of course the clone will also have this issue. On wrist, does it bother you? Not really, but you can tell sometimes if you kind of move your wrist too quick, you'll definitely feel the rotor spin, and it's probably a friendly annoyance rather than anything more than that. Still, saying all that, I'd say the watch is really well built. Anybody who has this in hand will definitely be able to tell you that. They've had 118 orders. Bear in mind, it's a £335 watch. So still with that high price, there's a lot of satisfied people. You've got 4.9 rating. So that's a very high rating compared to the cost of the watch. I think a lot of people are very happy with this. And even Jason, when I sent him my one, it's something which you feel in hand. As soon as you pick it up, you think, wow. And then, the benefit of that, fully automatic chronograph movement, it is just stunning to see, stunning to kind of, use and wear. So I think that's it from me today, guys. So thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. And I will see you in the next video.